Hello everyone, it is December 4th and you're going to think you're watching the wrong channel, but I was doing some painting today, and as you know, I love to paint, and usually I'm painting on pottery, but I don't know, I've done some watercolors and I've painted on paper and canvas and things, and I don't know, I got this idea to paint on some canvas bags. So I did a few and I really fell in love with the painting. And I'm sure when you look at it, you can, tell it's mine. But so I'm not painting on pottery today, but I thought I'd share it on my channel because, people who like to paint may paint on different surfaces than just pottery. And I also do stained glass too. So I may share some of my stained glass stuff in the future, because even my stained glass is kind of whimsical. It's not your typical where you're cutting out, patterns for stained glass. I basically use the glass I have kind of and make it work and make funky flowers and things like that. But anyway, so that might be in a later date. But I've got a show in a few days, and I thought I'd do some canvas bags and just kind of see how they sell. Anyway, let me I'll lower you down and I'll show you what I've been doing and hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. So this is one I did. So I'm going to put these on my Etsy. Well, I'm going to take these to my show on Wednesday, but what I have left I'm going to put on my Etsy site. And also, you will be able to order these custom made on my Etsy site, on my Etsy shop, Wild Acorns Pottery. So there's two different sizes. This one is like 18 by 20, and they would sell for probably about $28, I guess. But they're really nice. You can buy them off of Amazon, but they're zippered and everything, and they're really nice and sturdy. So anyway, so that is one. And like I said, they have nice handles and everything. I was going to dye them, but then I thought, the colors look really nice on this color. So that's one. And then, of course, my sunflowers. I'm sure all these designs will look familiar to you. You really can't see the detail unless I put it up close. But so that's another one. And that's one of the 18 by 20, I guess. I have to look up. I thought I bought all the same size, but I didn't. And here's another one. This is one of the first ones I did. And of course, you can see my tulips. And I know the words are backwards, but that's the way my camera films. Can you see like the details? So those will sell, I'm thinking like $28, $30. I mean, they're all hand painted, so I know there's a lot of bags on Etsy for like $25, but those are usually stencils. So, and of course, my roses. Now this bag is probably going to sell for like $35. Let me move it up a little bit. This is like 22 by 24. This is a big bag. And then you can see the designs a little better, I think. Now, when this paint dried, this is acrylic paint. When it dried darker than what, you know how it is when you're painting with underglazes. It does the same thing. They're more purple than what I thought, but the colors, I don't know if can you see the colors? It's just so pretty. Anyway, so I did that one. And, is there something in there? Nope. So, and here's the one we're going to do today. My daisies. Now, I don't have this one outlined yet because I'm going to outline it with you guys. Because the one I'm painting will not be dry enough to outline. And you know me, an outline, I got to outline it. But yeah, the paint has to be really dry to outline it. But you can kind of see. So we'll do that today. And let me set that aside. And let me lower you back down a bit. These are, like I said, these are big bags. I'm going to try to turn it Okay, so the first thing you have to do is get some newspaper and put it inside the bag, because this paint, you know, will bleed through. So make sure you've got thick newspapers to put in here, or cardboard or something in there. Okay, then I'm going to tape this off, and I actually I'm going to get some green, that green tape, that thicker green tape. I think that's better than this, but this is what I had. So make sure you press down really well. And this makes your frame, your outline of what you're painting. And I kind of go by the stitching at the top. I try to make it kind of equal on all sides, but and I do this too when I'm painting with acrylics or watercolors, because it makes a nice, even, you know, it makes a nice frame around your paper. I'm gonna move this in just a tad. I just kind of eyeball it. I mean, we're not rocket scientists here, right? So, okay. So I'm going to take my marker, and I'm just going to press down really well along the edges here to help it stop from bleeding on the bag. This doesn't look straight. Let's see. This looks a little crooked to me. I'm gonna readjust this bottom one. If you readjust it too much, you're gonna have to just use a new piece. Let's see. It still looks a little. I'm gonna I don't have a ruler handy, so I'm gonna kind of use this paper towel just to see how far I'm off here. I don't want to be too far off. Oh, it's perfect. I don't know why. My eyes must be crooked. Yeah, how about that? It's perfect. And make sure when you put the paper in here that it's your surface isn't bumpy. Mine's a little bumpy. I'm gonna take some loose some papers I have here and just shove a couple in there at the top, because I don't want it to be bumpy underneath. That makes it all much harder to paint on. Okay, like I said, make sure this is down really well. Because it will bleed through if you add, and you gotta be careful not to add too much water to your paints, because that'll really make it bleed through. So, okay, so I'm using just acrylic paint. Some of them are just this Master's Touch acrylic. Most of them are. Some of them are even latex paints I get from Lowe's that I had left over. But most of them are, I'll show you, just these, they're 71 cents a piece at Home Depot. Some of them are $1, but they're basically just these One says folk art. I think this one says deco art. And yeah, another folk art. So yeah, just, you know, acrylic paints, any acrylic paints is fine. So, okay, so we've got the newspaper inside. We've got it taped down. So now let's choose the paints. And I'm going to cover up the edges here so I don't drip paint. On the edges here. Because I'm kind of messy. Kind of messy. There we go. Okay, so my brushes are just cheap brushes. This is I think these are like $1 or something if some of the stores you can go to. And these are so old. I think these are masked. This one says the Fine Touch. They're just, you know, cheap brushes from Hobby Lobby. You can get them at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, but they're acrylic brushes. You can see they're pretty worn. So, okay. So now the palette. Now the palette I'm using is you can go to any store and get these foam. They're just foam dinner trays. I just bought a whole pack of them. And you can reuse them so you're not, you know, spreading a bunch of foam, you know, throwing away a bunch of foam trays in the garbage all the time. That's not a good thing. But yeah, they're nice to mix your paint in. So I'm trying to move the camera back a little bit so you can see. Hope you guys can see okay there. I know you're going to be looking on the sideways. So some people have them come over the top of their head, but I don't know. I have bought so many different types of. Let me slant this a little bit. That might make it a little bit easier. And I store all these tubes upside down. So when you store them upside down, all the paint stays at the bottom here, and they keep the seal moist. You know, so many times you open them up and you can't get them open because it's all dried up. If you store them upside down, the moisture stays at the bottom, and usually they will not gunk up and they won't dry shut. So you have a hard time opening them. At least that's what I find. I do that with my glazes too. You know, but you got to make sure that the lid is on tight and that you have a good seal on your lid, because I'm going to move my water. I'm going to move my water over here to the right. You can see my big pail of water here. Let's see. Since I moved this, I'm going to move this paper towels over here. Sorry. I thought I had it all set up here, but there we go. But if you do splatter some on the outside, you can just, you know, splatter paint when you're done and just pretend that's the way it's supposed to be. No one knows, right? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is the background. Now I just have, and you know, I mix all these, so don't concentrate on the colors. Just get some blues and whites and make your own colors. Because that's the fun of painting. And you never want just one color anyway, because then your piece is going to look flat. You want to have lights and darks and all different colors. Okay, so I've got some yellows. And I also bought some of these little plastic containers to save some of my colors in, so I don't waste paint. Since this is acrylic, you know, once it dries, it's dry. I'm trying to look for places to put this because I know my 2 kittens are going to be in here probably throwing stuff around. as they like to do. I'm going to set that there. Then I have some white left over here. And I'm going to put just a dab of white in with my blue paint because I don't want it that dark. The one thing with acrylics is they dry a little darker, which most paints do. They dry a little darker than I have found than when you're painting them on. You know how it is when you go to the paint store and you buy paint and you paint it on your wall, and then the next day it looks different than what you thought it would. So I'm trying to think of some of the colors I need. This is a little bit of white, yellow, and orange that I've mixed in here together. And I'll go ahead and dump it in here. I try not to mix them so that they're completely mixed. If you mix them and you leave some of the full strength colors in there, then your piece looks, like you've meant to do that. You've meant to add all those different colors, the darks and the lights. And so I may need some more paint here, but for now, I think I even added a touch of red, believe it or not, to the daisy centers, which are yellow. But I can mix some of that red and make orange if I need it. So, okay, so let's do the background. So I'm just mixing up this blue and this white. And so this has got a little bit of water in it. If you don't have any water in here at all, it tends to lay on top of the canvas instead of sinking in the canvas. So let's see how this works. I think when I get near the bottom, I might add a little bit of green to it. And when you're painting, see how the tape is here? You want to start on the tape and brush it over. You don't ever want to go this. Let's see, I'm going to show you down here. You don't ever want to brush towards the blue tape because then that would really force the paint under the tape. So you always want to start on the tape and then brush away from it. This brush is so, but it works great for this. I like the streaks. I'm going to add just a touch of water to it. You gotta, like I said, you got to be careful not to add too much water. I was looking at this light that's shining over me. I have all these lights over me. This room is so dark. It's at the back of our house, and our roof hangs over our house about 4 feet, I guess. Our eaves are about 4 feet, so we don't get a lot of light in the house. And this house is really kind of strange. There's no attic or anything, so we don't have any overhead light. So when we moved in, I had to run wires up the side of the wall because there's no attic. There's no way to hide wires, up in a ceiling or anything. So we had to run wires up the side of the wall to create some overhead light. But this particular room does not have an overhead light, so I keep buying more and more lamps. Because gosh, at night it's like it really feels dark, and I don't know about you, but I hate when it's dark. We get, it's dark here in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's dark by 5:30 now with this time change, which I'm not liking. I don't know if anybody does. My animals still want to get up at 6:30 instead of 7:30. I keep telling them there's been a time change, but they're not listening to me. Imagine that. So I'm really kind of pressing hard to get this down in here. And I don't want it, you know, too even. I want some dark and light spots. That doesn't bother me. But once you do this and you start painting your design, you cannot go back and do this. So make sure this background is the color you want it. And I'm going to add just a touch of green to my blue, just to make it a little greener at the bottom, and not a lot, just a little bit. I feel like Bob Ross sometimes. Anybody ever watch Bob Ross? I used to love to watch him paint. I could watch him all day. Okay. Yeah, I think he uses brushes like these too. Oh. But, you know, one thing that's different with, I have to get used to, with painting with acrylics is if you don't rinse them out right away, they're hard as a rock and ruined your brush. I don't know if there's any way. I know they sell some stuff, brush restorers, but for the most part, you're pretty much done if it dries with acrylic paint. Okay, so now I got my background done. And it's kind of nice to take a heat gun or something and dry this, but I'm impatient, so I never do. But if you dry it in between layers, you know, then you don't have the bleeding of the paint into your other colors. Okay, so I'm mixing the red into my yellow and white, and I have a little bit darker. And so that's what gives the yellow centers some depth. And you have to kind of think, I know, I don't draw anything out. You could, I don't know how you could draw it out. And, I mean, I guess if you drew it out with the black liner first, but that's just not the way I do it. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants. And I usually have a picture to look at or something, though. So, yeah, because, you know, with these, if you make a mistake, you have to kind of be good at covering it up. I mean, you can go over the colors, but, and I'm kind of go by what I did on my other one. And you gotta kind of, you know, think about when you're layering them out, how you're gonna bring the stems up. And so it's nice too to get your first coat on here. And then when you start from this side and go to this side, by the time you get back to this side, this will have dried a little bit, and hopefully, you know, that's the goal. And, you know, make sure you've got some that are darker, some that are lighter, some that are high and low. But you want, you know, a good composition too of where you're putting them. And, you know, flowers are pretty random anyway, so you try to avoid a pattern. if you see yourself putting them all in a row, you know, like I'm doing here, kind of, make sure you stop yourself from doing that. And so I have kind of an idea of where I want my flowers to be. And it's always kind of a surprise. See, now I'm going to come back, put another layer on, and I'm taking more of the white, the lighter yellow, and putting it near the top of these flowers. And I've even got a little white here that's left over from, is that dry? Yeah, that's pretty dry. I might add a little bit of white at the end to just kind of lighten up the top. I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope you guys enjoy this. It's very different from what I'm used to doing. Usually I'm painting on pottery, but I thought, you know, what the heck, you guys might enjoy painting on canvas. It's a good way to, you know, if you love painting, it's just kind of practice for your pottery, right? Because like I said, I paint on paper. I paint with watercolors sometimes, acrylics. I don't think I've ever done oils. I love oil paintings though, when they there's just something, I like oil paintings when they make it kind of blotchy, like they just, it looks like somebody just tossed a bunch of color on there and it's not been blended all in. It's like it's just blotches of paint that actually make a painting in the end. So I'm going to mix a little bit of this red with this yellow because I want to start adding a little bit darker colors here at the bottom. Hope you guys can see this. I don't think I can bring it down any closer. I'll hold it up at the end though. But so I'm adding a little bit of yellow. A little bit of red to the yellow so that I can add a little bit of shading down here at the bottom of here. And then this will give it some depth. I'm going to kind of blend it in a little bit, and I will come back and add some more yellow. I just want to add some of that darkness down here because it really does look so pretty at the end when you're putting the white petals on. And you don't want just, you know, yellow blobs all over your painting. I never considered myself a very good painter. So, you know, how I'm painting here is the way I paint. It may not be the way, you know, if you took a professional class, it might not be the way they teach you to paint. And, you know, with watercolors, you paint from light to dark. With acrylics, you can kind of go either way. I kind of paint from light to dark with acrylics, but then I go back and add highlights. But with watercolors, you have to go from light to dark because you got to be very careful about how much paint and water you add to your paper, or your paper will all wrinkle up. And but yeah, I'm not a professional painter by any means, so but I enjoy it, so that's what I do. Okay, so I'm going to add a little more of this light yellow back on here, because I want to blend in this darker color that I've added at the bottom. I don't want it to lay on top of the yellow. I want it to be kind of under the yellow and just kind of showing through. And if you add too much water too, your colors will sink through the bag. Yeah, I got to be careful how much water I add. This brush here is pretty ruined. Jeez. I guess I've got paint down in the bristles. I probably didn't clean it out enough. This is where it helps if you've got a heat gun and you're drying out your these centers. You don't have to put as much paint on, but right now I can feel it just soaking up. So I think what I'll do is go ahead and add some of the well, let me add a little bit of white and see if that I hate to go on from one thing without, but I'll probably go back anyway. But it helps if it dries out a little bit. Then all your paint's not sinking through the canvas. I don't know if there's something you can put on your canvas first. I don't know how that would affect, you know, the feel of it though. You know, I don't want it too stiff, you know, like there's a gallon of paint dumped on there, and I've seen that before too. People paint with so much paint. It's like you feel like you're carrying around a bunch of cardboard and you're on your bag. So, and one thing too, when you're done with these and they're completely dry, you're going to want to lay a piece of material. I like to lay parchment paper over the top and then iron them. And the heat sets the paint. Now, someone asked me if these were washable. You know, I don't know. I would suggest washing them by hand, because the paint will be set, so you know, you don't have to worry about the paint. But so I'm gonna go ahead and let these dry, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the stems on here, because this is really soaking up the paint. There's no sense in dumping a bunch more paint on there. So, okay, so I have some green here. You see I got a blob of green right here. And then I just have this old green left over from another painting job. There's some yellow in there. There's some light green in there. And I'm just going to use this to make the stems. And then I'll come back with the lighter green to add the highlights to the stems. But I'm going to start off with the dark, which is, like I said, you wouldn't do. You wouldn't do that if you were doing with watercolors. And I'm pressing my brush down really hard at the base So it's a little bit fatter. And then trying to make thin lines here. So like I said, I'm pressing down really hard. And then I'm kind of twisting my brush as I go up to make it a little bit thinner. So my husband came in the other day and he saw me painting these bags and he's like, "What are you doing now?" I said, "Now I'm painting bags." He's like, "Oh my gosh, first it's pottery, then it's stained glass. Now you're painting bags." I said, the thing is, I just, I just love to paint. I don't know. I find it really relaxing to paint, especially when you're doing these whimsical things. For me, I'm not into the, um, like portraits. It's a lot tougher when you're painting, like a house or an animal or a person, especially if you got to put a face on something. Um, that takes a lot of time to get that look and get the emotions of the person or the animal on paper or canvas or whatever. That's so I hope people like these. I do. I guess if nobody buys them, we'll have a lot of book bags. Either that or we know what people are getting for Christmas, right? Everybody will be getting a book bag. But you could carry your lunch in there too. Um, if you put your sandwich and stuff in like a thermal bag, and put it all in here. The big ones are probably big enough for a diaper bag, but nowadays I see these diaper bags people carry around are huge. I guess mine was. It's been so long ago, I can't remember. My kids are 35 and 37 now. They'd be cute overnight bags too if you have grandkids or young children. Be cute for that. Or so, like I said, I'm kind of pressing harder at the bottom. There we go. So I've got my stems in place, and I like the composition. I don't think, the only thing they're probably spaced, probably a little too evenly maybe. But that's okay because once I put the petals on, I really don't want the petals all running into each other. So now I'm just going to go back and add um, just some, little stems here that don't have flowers on them. It's chilly here today. was 50 degrees yesterday, and I think today it's 25 or something. I guess it should be, though. I mean, we're in December, so it's usually pretty cold here in December. My kitty cats are being good today. One of them's Millie, is sitting on a chair behind me. I have my bird feeders out back here, and they like to sit on the chair and watch the birdies. And the squirrels, who get in there and eat all the food too. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to add leaves. Now that I've got my stems all in place, I just want to add a few leaves. So when you put your brush down, put it down very lightly, then press a little bit harder, and then release it. So I'm just touching the canvas, then I'm pressing down, and then I'm releasing it. And that usually works for the most part. And if not, just draw the shape of a leaf. You can kind of see that the white little I put in there really shows up nicely. It really highlights the top of the centers of those. It's so relaxing to paint too. I could paint all day. I do have laundry to do though, but that can wait. And when you're putting these leaves on, kind of keep in mind where you're going to put the petals. I mean, you're obviously going to cover up some of these leaves with the petals, which is why I like to put the petals on, or the leaves on first, because I don't want the leaves to be over top of the petals. I don't think that looks as nice. Let's see, a couple more missing here. Need a couple petals. So let's see, I think I'm going to add one more up here. And then I think I'm going to stop that for a minute and add, I've got some light green down here that I'm going to add. Let's see. You can see here, I'm going to take some of this yellow from over here and add it to this green. Steal a little bit of that yellow, because I've got a lot of that left. So I'm going to not mix it, just kind of dab them together. Can you see that? I'm just kind of, I want mostly the green. In fact, I might add a little bit of the dark green to that. I don't want it too yellow. So I'm just kind of mixing it, but not. You can see all the swirls in here still. Okay, so let's go back to the painting here. And I'm going to add some highlights now to the leaves and the stems. I may move to a smaller brush. Let me see here. This brush here is a little bit thinner than the other one. There we go. Yeah, that's nicer. Yeah, like I said, you don't want your your leaves to be all one color either. It's kind of nice when the paint is a little wet because it does kind of blend itself a little bit. I hear my doggy Archie coming in. Might be hearing. Oh, you could probably hear his toenails on the hard floor, on the hardwood. He's getting along with the kitty cats pretty well, and they go up and sniff him, and so they like him, which is a good thing. I don't think he really knows what they are, but I think he's having issues of what he is, because now he wants cat treats, he wants to eat the cat food. I keep trying to tell him he's not a cat. But, if we get the cat's treats, we want to give him treats too. We don't want to exclude him, and, he's missing his other two doggy friends that passed away. Our other two dogs. So he's missing them, and so I kind of feel bad for him. So we give him cat treats, and although from what I understand, cat treats are a lot higher calorie than, I guess, dog food. I think it has more nutrition in it too, maybe. So yeah, I gotta keep an eye on him. He was already on the chunky side. He doesn't get much exercise. I took him walking with me one time, and I had to carry him half the way. So we don't take him walking anymore. But we've got a big yard. We have almost an acre here where I live. So he's got plenty of room to run. He has an electric collar, which I don't think he uses it much anymore, but we live on a busy street, so I would have rather put up a fence, but permits and stuff didn't really permit that all that much. I'll get you a close-up of this when I'm done. But right now I'm just adding the light green. There's a little bit of yellow mixed in, just to kind of highlight those petals and leaves, not petals, leaves and stems. I haven't done the petals yet. This thinner brush does make it a little bit easier. To make those thinner lines. When you're painting on canvas, you know, it's a lot different than when you're painting on clay. You know, your surface on clay is much smoother, I think, than the canvas. But the nice thing about, you know, painting on the canvas is that when you're done, you're done. You don't have to say a Hail Mary to the kiln gods and hope that she doesn't crack your piece or ruin your piece. And you have, you know, you have instant gratification because when it's done, it's done. You just have to wait for it to dry. And I got to show my Santas from one of the previous videos. I ended up taking them to where I work to fire, and I forgot to bring them home to show pictures of the Santas. I think you'll really like them. When I painted the red and the white and all the colors on the Santas, I went back and did a brown underglaze wash over most of it so that it would look antique. You know, I didn't want them to look stark white or... Okay, so I think that's good for the stems. So now we're going to do the petals. So I'm going to add just a touch of yellow to my white. Just a touch. I don't want the petals to be stark white. Just a preference of mine. Okay, so now we got to think about where we want this to go. So when I'm making the leaves, I make the petals kind of the same way. I press down very lightly at first, and then I press kind of harder, and then I release. So press down lightly, then hard, then release. And if it's bleeding a lot, then go to the other side. And I might do that because that's bleeding more than the colors, not bleeding, you know, blood. Then we'd have a problem, right? So as you're painting these petals on, I don't know, this is always my favorite part. You don't want to paint them all just straight. You want them to bend a little bit, you know. And you can always go back over them. So just get them on here where you want them. So you can always come back. That one looks kind of weird. I'm going to put another one right here, like it's kind of hiding. There we go. And a lot of mistakes you can kind of fix with your marker. When I go back with the marker, in And like I said, so this will sink in too. I know you probably can't see very well here. So get your first layer on here. Let it kind of dry. Like I said, the best scenario is to let these dry in between. But I don't have the patience for that. Yeah, so make sure your petals kind of curve a little bit. Make sure they're fat and they're thin. They're not all, I think this one I'm going to do the petals all around. I can't believe it's already December. Seems like the time goes so fast, doesn't it? Unless you're sitting in the doctor's office, then it goes slow. Yeah, I love painting the petals on here. And I don't worry about, I sound like I don't worry about anything, but I do. I'm kind of a worrywart about some things. But when it comes to flowers, I mean, I don't worry about them being, what is it, anatomic, not anatomically. I don't worry about it being botanically correct. That's the right word, I guess. And like my fish are whimsical. I mean, I just think it's, I just like looking at them, and if they make people smile, like they're just fun. There's enough things in our lives that have to be perfectly correct. Your job, things like that. But, when you're painting, you kind of have the freedom of, adding fun or whimsical. I mean, I paint for enjoyment. I don't want to have to get out a botanical dictionary and most people aren't going to really care if the leaves are a little different on a flower than what it says in this, some book. And what I'm excited too is that these bags are a lot lighter to carry, to pack up and unpack for show. Oh, there goes an ambulance by. See? Aren't you happy you're not in the back of that? I always think about that when they go by. I always kind of wish the best for who's ever in there. Ugh, scary. I used to have a whole bunch of daisies out in my garden, and I think the moles are eating the roots. It's so frustrating. We get the deer eating them and the moles eating the roots, and my gosh, I used to have all these, different colored echinacea and daisies, and the wildlife just eats them up. Isn't this a fun painting? So you just get yourself, sort of canvas bags. Or if you want to practice on paper first, you can. Now you could also paint this out like this with underglazes on newspaper, and then lay it on greenware and press it just like a transfer. Remember to be backwards from how you painted it, but Katie Miller, if you follow her at all, she does all her designs on newsprint. I tried that, and it's okay. It wasn't, it wasn't my style, but I love her stuff. It's really, really whimsical. Katie Miller, Catie. I'm sure a lot of you follow her if you're a potter. She's very well known and does beautiful. She does murals too. She did a mural for, I think it was a coffee shop. So you guys will have to let me know if you like this or not. We got a few more to go. And I'm going to come back and go over them a little bit still. And what's kind of cool is you'll see it on the one that I outline, is that the blue, since it's not dry all the way, it kind of comes through the white, which I love. Because I don't want these white petals all stark white. So even though this paint that I'm putting on is pretty white, like I said, I put a touch of yellow in here. But it's pretty white, and then the blue just kind of comes through naturally. But you can see all this paint I'm putting on here, so you know why I put that paper, that newspaper, on the inside. Because this does go through. I got a little bit of white right here in this I don't really want that there. I'm going to take a dab of this. There we go. You can always fix it, right? All right. Yeah, you can use any acrylic brush for these. I'm sure you can probably use oil too. I think watercolor brushes, the bristles might be a little too soft. When you're working with acrylics, oils also, but I've never used oils before, uh, but you want a little bit stiffer bristle with acrylics. So if you notice, these daisies look very much like that bowl that I did. That didn't turn out for pottery, but it had some neat textures on it, didn't it? I think daisies are just a really fun flower, isn't it? Like, there's something about when you're just looking at a daisy, and it's just very, it's a calming flower. You know, you can imagine a field of daisies blowing in the wind with the sun shining, and you know, like a big meadow filled with daisies. How pretty that would be. Although you know me, I'm a flower lover. Um, I always, I try to grow poppies, but I can't grow poppies either. I've spent so much money trying to grow, and it seems like, I don't know if it's the environment. Of course, it could be me. I'd like to think I have a green thumb with all the plants I have, but I don't know. A lot have died too. Okay, so I've got up all the petals on. Now I'm going to go back, but I'm going to show you like this here. I wish I could bring my camera down, but I can't because it's fixed. But I'll show you. Like, some are brighter, some are darker, and I'm going to go over it a little bit. But I like them different shades because the green and the blue behind are mixing with the white of the petal, and it's changing the color a little bit, and it's really pretty. Like I said, I'm really having fun painting on these canvas bags. I mean, it's, you know, it feels good to paint on something that's usable. Rather, of course, I guess if you're painting on, you know, canvas painting that you're going to hang on the wall, it's still, you know, you can look at it and be very happy, make you happy when you see it. But, you know, it's kind of nice to paint on something that's usable, too. By the time I get done painting these and all that, I probably won't make any money on them. But we'll see how they sell. So what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to put them on my Etsy shop, and you can order them custom made. Not custom made, but I'll make them to order. So if you want daisies, and they'll look, you know, very similar to this, but of course they're not going to be exact because they're hand painted. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then I am going to paint a couple little bumblebees. It's got a little too much red in it. There we go. I'm going to add a little bit of this lighter. I think I'll put 3 Bs. I'll hide one down in here. There we go. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to that guy up here because he's got a little bit too much red in there. I think I'm going to even put a touch of white in there, kind of. There we go. Now I got too much white on him. He needs a little more yellow. But he will dry darker, so. Okay. Let's see, did I forget anything else? I think that looks good. I'm tempted to add just a little more yellow to the center of these flowers, though. My daisies. I don't want them too orange. Too much of the red. I don't want too much of the red to show through. It's always hard to know when to stop. I mean, you could, get carried away and paint here all day. And sometimes you can ruin it. It's easy to do that. Let's see. I think I better stop. I might. I said I was going to stop, now I'm lying, aren't I? I'm going to mix a little bit more of this yellow with my leftover green I had here in the tray. And maybe a touch of the blue to make it a little greener in places. Because I like to try to use up what I have in the tray. And I'm just going to go over the leaves a little bit more, just to add another layer of color. I'm going to add a touch of water to it because it's just so it blends a little better. And then I'll stop and we'll go over the other one with the black liner. And you don't want to really go over all of them because you want some dark, some light. You gotta be careful to make it too monotone by having everything look the same. So, okay, I'm going to set some of this aside. And these little containers in this plastic, these are really nice. You put the lids on these. I got these at GFS. I think it's something food supply. my brain's not working today, but you can probably get them just about anywhere. I don't know how long they would keep it moist, but I know this white's been sitting around for a couple weeks and it's still moist, so Oops. And if you spray them a little bit before you seal them with a little bit of water, that helps too, of course. So I am going to take off the tape on this one right away, because it'll help this paint dry on the edges and stop the bleeding if it has started to bleed a little bit. Here, I'll throw that out there for the kitty cats. Okay, so here's what this one looks like so far. And I'll show you some of the details if you can. And the bees, I gotta put I almost forgot, I'll finish up the bees with the black marker, but I do have to put the little wings on. I almost forgot. So I'm gonna add a little bit of water to this, so it goes on a little better. I added a little too much though, and it's bleeding. Gotta be careful not to add too much water. But once you put the black outline on, it really makes it pop. So, okay. So I'm going to set this one aside and put it somewhere where the kitty cats won't jump on it. And then let's go ahead and do the outline of this one. So, okay, so this is how it starts out. Like I said, this is on the big bag. And you can see the bee up there and some of those colors, how they're blended. Okay, so now, so I've got two kinds of markers. This is just a Sharpie, black Sharpie. And then I have the fine point Sharpie, but it's thicker. And this actually works better. But once the point starts getting worn down, they're no good, because then you've got this fat line. Now this one, you can tell, this one faded just a little bit. The colors bled through, which I'm not too happy about, but, you know. So, let's see. I'm going to write my name down here. See, you see these thin ones, they don't write on here very well. I'm going to sign it. So, and then on the edges here, I'm just going to put I'm going to actually draw a little flower here. And then we draw a line. This just kind of helps outline it. It's just a whimsical thing. I don't want them to be straight. I want them to just, you know, but this you do want to be careful with, because this is permanent. So, you know, if you're sneezing and coughing, you might want to wait. Okay, so to me this is such the fun part. So I'm going to take this, start with the bee over here, and put a couple lines on him. put his wings on him. And the reason I'm doing the bees first is because I once mistaked him for a flower. Okay, and now I'm going to do the daisies. I hope you can see this okay. Can you hear my doggy snoring? And you got to think about when you're drawing your petals, if they overlap, you know, the one next to it. Yeah, so these markers, they don't, you know, the tips don't last too long. I try to use the side of the marker kind of to, you know, almost sharpen the tip. Um, I think I bought like a 8-pack. Because once you lose that sharp tip, yeah, they're not very good. And, you know, you have to be careful, like I said, too, outlining these because you cannot fix it. You could do this with a very fine black brush, a really thin, fine black brush, but I think that would be much harder, in my opinion. So I got all the, yeah, I'm outlined, and I'm going to just put some little, you know, little circles and dots around the base of the center of the flower. Okay, so I got that done. See how much difference that makes? And now I'm going to do the stems. And this I try to do kind of fast, just because I don't want it to be perfect. I don't, you know, if you think too much, I don't know, and it becomes too perfect, and I want it to be, you lose that whimsical feeling. And I'm one of those painters, I don't know, I used to always, everything was, you know, I always call it, you know, you paint within the box. But I'm trying to think outside the box. Archie, just hang on. My doggy wants to go outside. Probably because I'm doing something, you know, if you're busy, that's when he wants to go out. Just hold on a minute, yeah. Squeeze your little legs together. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta let my doggy out. Oh, if I can get up. Oh, the door's locked. Of course it is. Oh, there we go. Okay. Out you go. Hurry up. Oh. He'll be back in about 2 minutes, probably. Okay. Like I said, you gotta kind of be quick about this. And you don't want to outline. That's what I'm trying not to do, is outline every single edge of it. Let your imagination figure out where some of the edges should be. So I think that's it. We'll hold it up so you guys can see it. And there is the finished piece. Let's see if I can hold it flat. So can you see the detail, the little bee and the flowers? See the colors? And the bottom, all the different greens. I know these cameras don't show up real well. I wanted you to see like the oranges and how there's white and orange in the centers. But there you go. So like I said, you can get these bags on Amazon. And these are zippered bags, but you don't have to have the zippered bags. And I'm sure there's a lot of different places you can get them. But these are nice. They're made really well. And like I said, these have zippers in them. And I've been really pleased with them. So they're really not that expensive either. So anyway, that is all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed something a little bit different today. Like I said, it's not pottery, but it's still painting, and it's still, you know, my style of how I do this. You could apply this to your clay pieces if you wanted to. Yeah, let me know if you like that, because I have, you know, other designs. And I'm looking at the door. Can you see the door? See if my doggy's out there? He'll probably be back in a minute. Sometimes he goes around the front though. But anyway, but yeah, I put my lids on here. But yeah, so let me know if you'd like to see any more tutorials about painting on canvas. Sorry, I'm distracted. I was looking at my this one too, because I could do this one. Although you guys have kind of seen this one on clay. Yeah, I wish that had been a little bit pinker. But like I said, oh, there he is. I can see his keys. You probably can't see him back there. Anyway, I'll go let him in. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see some more, please share and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out with just everything, you know. I know they put advertisements in there, but they pay me a little bit, not much, but I appreciate it. So if you like what you see, not me, not this face, but my painting, subscribe and like, and it helps me out, my algorithms and all that weird stuff. So anyway, thanks a lot. I'm sure some of you will leave me some comments. I look forward to reading them. And if I don't get back to you, I probably missed them. So just re-comment, because I'm not really good at some of that stuff. Have a great day.